Here goes. Hi, I'm Kim Van Updorp, and I'll be talking about Cat's Eye by Margaret Atwood for my video essay for women writers for the spring of 2015. That was a lot of the word for. So, Cat's Eye is by Margaret Atwood, of course, and for me, this book was really rather difficult to read. Um, it wasn't. It was really long, and it seemed to drag on at some points. But on the other hand, this piece has been one of the most poignant and remarkable reads I've had in a really long time. It clocks in at 462 pages, but Cat's Eye proved to be a worthy flow to finish and process. This isn't to say that it's not worth the time to pick up, but it's definitely a book you should take your time to read so that you can fully understand Atwood's beautiful language and metaphors. So, Cat's Eye is about Elaine Risley, a middle-aged artist who returns to her childhood home of Toronto to showcase her art retrospective and contemplates the hurt and impact that her childhood bullies had on her life and career. This novel has also been described as Atwood's most autobiographical piece. Margaret Atwood was born in Ottawa in 1939 to an entomologist father, which is really neat because that's also Elaine's father's occupation. She graduated from Victoria College at the University of Toronto and received her master's from Radcliffe College. She began writing in the 1960s and has written more than 40 volumes of poetry, literature, and children's literature. She started Cat's Eye in 1964 but put it off until the late 80s. Oddly enough, this is when her daughter had become a teenager, and it was easiest for her to understand the social dynamics of young girls. She is also beginning her career as a writer during the second wave of feminism, which started in the 1960s and 70s. Atwood has also been known for her literary celebrity, or a contemporary author whose success has brought them fame and recognition in today's pop culture. For example, we talked about in class when in 2011 Atwood asked her followers on Twitter to fight against budget cuts in the public library system in Toronto. Within a week, she had 24,000 signatures on her petition. Atwood currently lives in Toronto. For me, Cat's Eye was, like I said, a difficult read, but the themes were so universal and relatable that it was difficult to put down at times. Time, for example, was a huge part of Elaine's story. The whole novel is told in a retrospective nature with recurring flashbacks, meaning that it will start when Elaine is a child, and that every chapter or so will switch on and off, and they go from the time she's roughly in elementary school age to young adulthood. And this shows how the past affects the future. Her childhood best friend and bully Cordelia is often mentioned in the present, whether she's being seen around corners or restaurants or just around Toronto. The fact that Cordelia is haunting Elaine from the past and present shows that what people do can really hurt you, and that this effect is lasting. On page 342, Elaine is squinting into a window at some Italian silk scarves, wonderful intermediate colors, gray, blue, sea green, when I feel a touch on my arm, a chilly jump of the heart. Cordelia, I say, turning, but it's not Cordelia. It's nobody I know. Elaine's past continues to haunt her present, showing that time may not heal all wounds as we'd like to say it does. Although Cordelia has hurt Elaine immensely, it's impossible for her impact on Elaine's life to be forgotten. Elaine's naive view of another Cat's Eye theme, friendship, was part of why her adolescence proved to be so painful. Friendship is one of the most beautiful things you can experience as a human being. I know I love all of my friends dearly, and I couldn't imagine hurting them. But the friends, term used loosely, that Elaine had in Cat's Eye never seemed to treat her with the respect she deserved. These friendships were toxic, and they turned her childhood into a living hell. Grace Smith, Carol Campbell, and Cordelia proved to affect how she views other women. When she was at the gallery checking things over for her retrospective, she thought that the women there had it out for her, if that's the right way to put it. But she didn't think very highly of them. And I think that's because of how she was treated as a young adult. She doesn't understand how relationships with other women work, and therefore she doesn't know how to treat other people. On page 131, um, Cordelia is my friend. She likes me. She wants to help me. They all do. They're my friends, my girlfriends, my best friends. But these best friends have spent the last few days criticizing the way Elaine walks, talks, and carries herself. This bullying starts at a young age, says a Boston Globe article from 2010. It talks about a 7-year-old girl who was told by her peers that they hated her and that nobody wanted to sit with her at lunch. It's difficult to imagine people treating each other like this, but apparently it's happening younger and younger. I remember being in 6th grade, and I thought I had really good friends, but they spent most of my life criticizing me for the things that I did and the things that I liked. I never really realized how horrible this was until I read this book. This book hit so close to home for me that it made me almost uncomfortable to read. And I didn't really want to think of my friends that way. I wanted to think of my school life as a positive experience. But after reading what happened to Elaine, I realized that it happened to me too. And it happens to so many other girls. Frenemies are dangerous, and they can be caused by predisposed ideas about how women are meant to act, which leads into our third theme, gender roles. Gender roles in the 1950s are pretty easy to understand. They're all pretty stiff and rigid. But Elaine and her mother didn't follow the same stereotypes that Mrs. Smith and Carol's mother did. Like, Grace's mother was constantly cooking and cleaning and was a very stereotypical housewife. And Carol's mother was kind of a 50s trophy wife, with the twin sets and the breast balancing everywhere. That, that's all I really got out of her. But the girls followed very closely in their mother's footsteps, and a dialogue between Miss Smith and her sister Mildred on page 199 showed just how far the saying, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, really goes. What can you expect from that family? The other children sense it. They know. You don't think they're being too hard on her? Says Aunt Mildred. Her voice is relishing. She wants to know how hard. It's God's punishment, says Mrs. Smith. It serves her right. The fact that Grace's mother says that Elaine deserves the way she's being treated by the other little girls is beyond me. I don't know how a mother could feel that way about another little girl. But this moment creates Mrs. Smith as a permanent fixture in Elaine's art. She deals with all of these themes in her art in some way. The timelessness of the pain that Mrs. Smith caused Elaine through her daughter, it's immense. But her daughter doesn't know how to act any other way because she thinks it's the only way little girls should act towards each other. These gender roles are dangerous, and they just contribute to the bullying that Elaine only knows so well. As for the significance of this book, it's important on all levels. This book made me uncomfortable to read, like I said, but it's only because I understood how Elaine felt. I knew exactly what it feels like to have little girls pick on you all the time for the things that you like, for the things that you do, and for the things that you can't control. I had friends like this up until I graduated from high school. Bullying just fit everywhere in this book. The pain that it caused was timeless. The friendship that she thought that she understood wasn't friendship. And the gender roles that caused all of this pain is horrible. Atwood's understanding of how little girls work is so clarifying and it's easy to understand how someone feels when you read it from their perspective. But girls of all age should be reading this book. There are some adult themes, like when Cordelia says that she took pills and she almost ended her life. But overall, adolescent and teenage girls can benefit from the criticism that Cat's Eye creates. These can even be applied to girl on girl hate in the workplace. Older women aren't exempt from this criticism. This piece made me realize that as a person and as a woman, we can sometimes be horrifically blind to the pain our words can cause other people, or that we can be cruel without warrant. This being an autobiographical novel, I think we get to see pieces of Atwood's life that serve to connect all those who've been bullied or are bullies in the past, or are still bullied today. The Boston Globe article I talked about came out in 2010 and stated that girls are becoming mean at young ages. Can we do anything to really prevent that? Can literature like Cat's Eye be provided as a preventative measure? I think it can. If we give little girls a better understanding of what words really do to other people and how our actions speak even louder than these words, I think we can really fix a lot of the problems that we have when it comes to bullying. But it's hard to deal with what bullying has really done to girls. But knowing that it reaches so far into the past, knowing that it is so deeply rooted in our society, makes me wonder if it can stop. But I think we can fix it. And I think Cat's Eye is a really wonderful piece of literature that serves to show that words and actions can affect people for their entire life. And I think that women of all ages need to understand that. Overall, Cat's Eye was a really wonderful piece of literature, and I would recommend it to essentially anyone, but especially those who know what it's like to be bullied, to be made fun of, or just need to get a better understanding of how young girls work.